Set Boundaries, Find Peace. A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself, by Nedra Tawwab. Introduction. Imagine a young woman named Kim. She's just gotten married. She's excelling in her career. On the outside, her life looks perfect. She prides herself on being the best at everything. The best daughter, the best friend, the best coworker. But lately, she dreads getting out of bed in the morning. She feels utterly depleted, overwhelmed by a simple, crushing thought. How can she possibly get it all done? This week, a friend needs help moving. A coworker needs her to assist on a project he can't manage alone. For Kim, saying no feels selfish. It feels mean. So she says yes. She always says yes. And now, sitting in a therapist's office, she's not looking for a way to do less. She's looking for a way to magically create more time, to somehow fit more into a schedule that's already bursting at the seams. The therapist gently stops her and says something so simple, yet so profound it stuns Kim into silence. It's impossible to create more time. But I can help you lighten your load instead. This feeling, this sense of being overwhelmed, of giving until there's nothing left, is a silent epidemic in our world. And it's at the heart of a powerful book that has become a guiding light for millions, Set Boundaries, Find Peace, by the brilliant therapist Nedra Tawwab. For over 14 years, Tawwab has seen people walk into her office with what they think are issues with anxiety, depression, or time management. But underneath it all, she uncovered a single, hidden root, a struggle with boundaries. Her work, which exploded into a massive online movement, revealed a universal truth. We are drowning in resentment and burnout, not because we're weak, but because no one ever taught us the art of saying no to others and yes to ourselves. Today, we're going to explore the core wisdom of this life-changing book. And I promise you, by the end of our time together, you won't just understand what boundaries are. You will have a practical guide to reclaiming your time, your energy, and your peace. You'll learn how to have those tough conversations you've been avoiding and, in doing so, how to build the strong, healthy, and joyful relationships you deserve. Book Summary. Let's start with a simple, powerful truth that Nedra Tawwab has built her entire philosophy on. Boundaries are the gateway to healthy relationships. But what does that even mean? What are boundaries? So often, we think of them as big, scary walls we put up to keep people out. We think of them as confrontations, as ultimatums, as the word no. But Tawwab offers a much gentler, and far more powerful, definition. She says, simply, that boundaries are the expectations and needs that help you feel safe and comfortable in your relationships. They are the cues you give to others about how to treat you. Think about it. When you feel overwhelmed, when you feel that simmering resentment toward people for asking for your help, when you start avoiding phone calls because you're afraid someone will ask for something, those aren't signs that you're a bad person. Those are signs that your boundaries are being crossed. Your body and your emotions are sending you a signal, a quiet alarm telling you that something needs to change. The problem is, most of us were never taught to listen to that alarm. Take Erica's story. She's a single mother of 2 young girls, working 40 hours a week as an accountant. She is determined to be a rock star mom, to give her girls the best life possible. She sees other mothers on social media who seem to be doing it all, and she believes she has to do it all too. But during the busy tax season, her world starts to unravel. The dishes pile up in the sink. The laundry goes unwashed for weeks. She's mentally on strike, so exhausted that she can't even bring herself to cook a proper meal for her kids. She's not a bad mother. She's a burned-out mother. Burnout, Tawwab explains, is what happens when we consistently ignore our own needs. It's the cost of having what she calls porous boundaries, boundaries that are weak, poorly expressed, and leave you feeling depleted and overextended. Porous boundaries look like people-pleasing, an inability to say no, and depending on others for validation. It's the constant feeling that you have to say yes to everything and everyone, even when it harms you. On the other end of the spectrum are rigid boundaries. This is where you build tall, thick walls to keep everyone out, often from a fear of being taken advantage of again. A person with rigid boundaries might say, "I never loan money to people," and stick to that rule even when a trusted friend is in a genuine crisis. It's a self-protective mechanism, but it leads to isolation and loneliness. What we're all aiming for, the sweet spot in the middle, is what Tawwab calls healthy boundaries. This isn't about building walls, it's about clearly, calmly, and kindly communicating your needs. It's being comfortable saying no when you need to, and comfortable hearing no from others without taking it personally. So, how do we get there? Tawwab breaks it down into a simple two-step process: communication and action. First, you have to verbally communicate your need. This is the part that trips most of us up. We assume people should just know. We think, it's common sense not to call me after 10 p.m. or they should have known not to smoke in my car. But as Tawwab wisely points out, common sense is based on our own life experiences, and it isn't the same for everyone. People aren't mind readers. It's your job to make your needs clear. She says that clarity saves relationships. But here's the crucial second step: action. After you communicate your boundary, you must uphold it with your behavior. If you tell your friend, "Please text me a few hours ahead if you need to change our plans," and they text you 10 minutes before, your action is to gently say, "I'd love to see you, but my schedule won't allow for such a last-minute change. Let's find another time next week." That short-term discomfort is what makes the long-term relationship healthy. Of course, the moment we think about doing this, a huge wave of fear washes over us. What if they get mad? What if they think I'm being mean? What if I lose the relationship? Tawwab prepares us for this. She explains that when you start setting boundaries, especially with people who are used to you not having any, you can expect a few common reactions. Some people will give you pushback. They'll say things like, "This isn't fair," or "You've never had a problem with this before." Some will engage in limit testing. They heard you, but they want to see how much you're willing to bend. You say, "I can't help you move this weekend," and they reply, "Well, what about next weekend?" They're testing the flexibility of your no. Some will simply ignore the boundary, pretending they never heard it, hoping you'll just drop it. And some will get defensive, feeling attacked and turning the issue back on you. Then there's the silent treatment or even ghosting, where they disappear as a way to punish you for asserting yourself. But here's the most important thing Tawwab discovered in her practice: despite all our fears, most people will respond with acceptance. A healthy person, someone who respects you, will hear your need and say, "Okay, thank you for letting me know." And when people react poorly, it's usually a sign that the boundary was desperately needed a long time ago. So where did these struggles with boundaries even come from? Why is this so hard for so many of us? Tawwab takes us back to the beginning, to our family. That's where it all starts. From the moment we are born, we have needs. We learn whether it's okay to express those needs based on how our parents respond. Think about a child who says, "I don't want to hug your friend." If the parent says, "Okay, you don't have to," the child learns, "My feelings of comfort are valid. I have a right to my own physical space." But if the parent says, "Don't be rude, give them a hug," or shames the child, they learn something very different: "My feelings don't matter. Other people's comfort is more important than my own. I should feel guilty for saying no." This pattern gets even deeper for those who experienced what Tawwab calls emotional neglect. This isn't necessarily abuse, it's the unintentional absence of enough emotional support from a caregiver. Consider the story of Justin. When he was just 12 years old, his parents divorced, and his mother told him, "You are now the man of the house." Suddenly, he was responsible for his younger brothers. His mother, debilitated by her own depression, confided in him, sharing her deepest emotions about the divorce. Justin became a parent to his own parent. The message he received was clear: his needs were not important. His job was to take care of everyone else. Is it any surprise that as a 29-year-old, Justin finds himself in a pattern of dating project people, women who need fixing? He feels uncomfortable when someone tries to do something nice for him. He learned so well to suppress his own needs that he doesn't even know how to receive support. His childhood role became his adult identity. For Justin, and for so many of us, the path to healing begins with understanding that it was never our job to be the man of the house, to be our parents' confidant, or to keep the peace in a chaotic home. To make this practical, Tawwab breaks boundaries down into 6 distinct types. Understanding these categories helps us see exactly where we need to draw the lines in our own lives. The first is physical boundaries. This is about your personal space and physical touch. It's your right to not want to be hugged, to ask someone to take a step back, or to be uncomfortable with public displays of affection. A simple physical boundary sounds like, "I'm more of a handshaker. I don't want a hug." Second are sexual boundaries. This is about consent. It's never okay to touch anyone without their consent, to make unwanted sexual comments, or to tell inappropriate jokes. It's your absolute right to say, "Your comments about my appearance make me uncomfortable," or simply, "Stop." Third, we have intellectual boundaries. This refers to your thoughts and ideas. You have a right to your own opinion, and it's a boundary violation when someone dismisses, belittles, or ridicules your thoughts. It's also an intellectual boundary violation when a parent shares adult information with a child that they aren't emotionally equipped to handle, just like what happened with Alex, whose father told her the details of her mother's affair. Fourth are emotional boundaries. This is about respecting feelings. When you share something vulnerable, and someone invalidates your feelings by saying, "You shouldn't be sad about that," or, "That wasn't a big deal," they're crossing an emotional boundary. This also includes oversharing, telling someone your entire life story 10 minutes after meeting them, or, on the flip side, pushing someone to share information they aren't comfortable with. Fifth, there are material boundaries. This is about your possessions and your money. You have the right to decide if you want to loan someone your car or your favorite shirt. You also have the right to set expectations, like saying, "I will loan you money, but I expect the full amount back by Friday." Finally, and this is the one many people struggle with the most, there are time boundaries. This is about how you manage your time and how you allow others to use your time. It's a time boundary violation when someone expects you to drop everything for them, calls you repeatedly for a non-emergency, or asks you to stay late at work without pay. Setting a time boundary is as simple as saying, "I'm unable to stay late today," or, "I can't help you this weekend." Now, let's bring this into the real world. The toughest arena for boundaries, as Tawwab points out, is almost always family. Think of James and Tiffany. They love each other, but they're constantly fighting about one person who isn't even in the room: James's mother, Deborah. James runs every decision by his mom, from buying a house to smaller financial choices. Tiffany sees her mother-in-law as manipulative and overbearing, but James sees her as wise and reliable. Tiffany feels like there's a third person in their marriage, and she resents James for not standing up to his mom. This is a classic case of what happens when an adult child hasn't established that they are, in fact, an adult. Tawwab says you become an adult when you set boundaries with your parents. It isn't disrespectful, it's a necessary and healthy evolution of the relationship. For James, this meant learning to say to his mother, "I know you mean well, but Tiffany and I need to handle things in our relationship without your input," It meant creating a new primary loyalty to his wife and his new family unit. This is incredibly difficult work, but it's the only way for the marriage to thrive. The same principles apply to friendships. We've all had that friend. Let's call him Dave, who calls you every day on the drive home from work just to complain. You love him, he's a great guy, but the constant negativity is draining you. You dread the calls, but you feel guilty ignoring them. Tawwab would say this isn't about cutting Dave off. It's about gently reshaping the friendship. It's about setting a time boundary, like deciding you can talk once a week for 15 minutes instead of twice a week for 30. It's about redirecting the conversation by asking, "Tell me something good that happened today." You are teaching your friend how to have a healthier relationship with you. A true friendship will survive this shift. In fact, it will likely become stronger. This applies even more in the workplace. Yanine loved her job, but she was surrounded by office gossip, co-workers who constantly asked for her help, and a boss who kept piling on projects. She felt overworked and frustrated, and thought her only option was to find a new job. But Tawwab makes a critical point. You can't outrun your inability to set boundaries. Those same patterns will follow you to the next job, and the next. The real solution for Janine wasn't a new office, it was a new approach. It was learning to assertively say, "I have a lot on my plate, so I can't help you with your project," or, "Let's chat during lunch, I need to focus on this report right now." It's about realizing that you can be a good, ethical employee without being a people pleaser who gets taken advantage of. Finally, and this may be the most profound lesson in the entire book, Tawwab turns the spotlight inward. What about the boundaries we have with ourselves? This is where Kyle's story comes in. Kyle works hard, and he believes in rewarding himself. Every time he gets a raise or a bonus, he buys a new watch, designer clothes, or an expensive vacation. He looks successful on the outside, but in reality, he's drowning in credit card debt and regularly borrows money from his father just to stay afloat. Kyle is unable to say no to himself. Tawwab explains that having boundaries with yourself is about self-discipline. It's about your finances, your time management, your self-care, and even the way you talk to yourself. When you procrastinate, when you engage in negative self-talk, when you stay in relationships you know are unhealthy, you are violating your own boundaries. Keeping your word to yourself is the ultimate form of self-respect. It's making a promise to yourself to save 10% of your paycheck, and then actually doing it. It's putting your phone down an hour before bed so you can get the sleep you know you need. The ability to say no to your own impulses is a gift you give to your future self. The journey of setting boundaries is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong practice. There will be times when you feel guilty. There will be times you feel afraid. There will be times you slip up and let an old pattern resurface. That's okay. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. It's about choosing the short-term discomfort of an awkward conversation over the long-term resentment of an unhealthy relationship. It's about understanding that boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about creating the space for people to show up in your life in a way that is healthy, respectful, and sustainable. They are how you teach the world how to love you. Commentary. As we wrap up our journey through Set Boundaries, Find Peace, I want to take a moment to reflect on why this book has struck such a deep chord with so many people. In a world that constantly demands more from us, more of our time, more of our energy, more of our attention, Nedra Tawwab's message isn't just helpful, it's essential for survival. What I find most powerful about her work is its profound simplicity and compassion. She strips away the fear and intimidation that we often associate with the word boundaries and reframes it as a fundamental act of self-care and respect. It's not about being mean, it's about being clear. It's not about building walls, it's about building healthy, loving, and sustainable connections. For anyone growing up today, navigating the complexities of social media, academic pressure, and the early stages of adult relationships, this book is more than a guide, it's a lifeline. It gives you permission to honor your own needs in a culture that often celebrates self-sacrifice to the point of burnout. The idea that you can say no and still be a good, lovable person is a revolutionary concept for many. The most transformative lesson, for me, is the shift in perspective from seeing boundaries as something you set on other people to something you do for yourself and your relationships. It's not about controlling others, it's about taking responsibility for your own well-being. When you tell a friend you can't listen to them complain for an hour, you're not just protecting your own energy, you're gently guiding the friendship toward a healthier dynamic. When you tell a parent you need to make your own decisions, you're not disrespecting them, you're evolving the relationship into one of mutual adult respect. So, how can you start putting this into practice, right now, today? It can feel overwhelming, so let's make it simple. First, just start by noticing. Pay attention to your body and your emotions. Where in your life do you feel that familiar pang of resentment, that feeling of being drained, or that sense of being overwhelmed? Is it when a certain person texts you? Is it when you're asked to take on another task at school or work? That feeling is your guide. It's pointing directly to where a boundary is needed. Second, practice crafting a single, simple boundary statement. You don't even have to say it to anyone yet. Just write it down. Use Tawwab's I statements. Instead of thinking, "My friend is so draining," write, "I need our conversations to be more balanced," or, "I want to limit our phone calls to 15 minutes. This small act of clarification is incredibly empowering. And third, start small. Find one low-stakes situation where you can practice. Maybe it's saying no to a small request you don't have time for. Maybe it's telling a family member, "I can't talk about that right now." Notice the discomfort, breathe through it, and then notice the peace that follows. Each small win builds the muscle and the confidence to tackle the bigger challenges. That was a summary of Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Tawwab. We've explored the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only take you so far. The true power of this book is in the way it speaks to your specific situation. The real magic happens when you read it for yourself, when a particular phrase or story resonates so deeply it feels like it was written just for you. This summary is designed to give you a map, but reading the book is the journey itself. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. It's more than just learning. It's an experience that can genuinely give you the tools to build a more peaceful and authentic life. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.